Yeah, it's like I was saying, like, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, these niggas, you know what I'm saying, started the war so they could take the land. Because why they want to take this land? Because I said now they find out the land got gold in the land. The land got copper. The land got crazy silver. They said that the Confederates was shooting. They said the Confederates was killing the Union with silver bullets. Because that's what they had. They didn't have no lead. And they mines and lead mines, no, they had silver mines. Nigga. It was getting guap like that in the mines. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the war was about. The war was to get everybody in the South to commit treason so they could take the land back. It really wasn't about the Indians unless the Indians was sitting on some primal shit. And a lot of times they was. Like I said, they had already paid the Indians, but they couldn't keep, in their mind, they felt like they couldn't keep paying them. You know what I'm saying? So they tried to split them into teams. And they got this and they got that. And alright. So now, so what was that really about though? It was really about the land. Why is it about the land? Because now we have to introduce the railroad. The Southern Railroad is really a phenomenon after the Civil War. Because during the Civil War, if it was a railroad, the Confederacy was digging them up. They was breaking them down. You melting the metal and just trying to stop the the Union from coming down and shit. So they wasn't into no railroads in the South and shit. But the people from the North, the Union, they wanted railroads down there. So now they done got everybody, they done took the land. Now the shit with a railroad is this. You don't want to own a railroad. You want to own the land that the railroad is on. You can sell a lease to the railroad company. But that's all a trick. Because whoever got the lease can get a loan. Because it's backed by the government. See, the railroad is not a railroad. It's the Military Intelligence Agency, which became the CIA. You know what I'm saying? But that was the original purpose of having a railroad. It was for communications. See what I'm saying? My hands is doing quotations because this is more imagination, more trickery. This is just so that they can get the grants and the bills. See, like, the railroad is the shit. You gotta go to war with a railroad because, see, once you get a railroad, the grant give you 15 miles from the middle of the railroad to the east, 15 miles to the left of the railroad from the middle. You know what I'm saying? So you bang, bang. You got, most cities ain't 30 miles. And there's probably 2 or more railroads in your town. See what I'm saying? So the motherfucker that own the land is the nigga that run your town. And more importantly, niggas, like, that's why I'm saying, like, Boston, like, these new towns and shit. Boston always kind of popping. But, like, Selma, Alabama, Montgomery. You know what I'm saying? Those towns are creations. These cities are creations of the European. He created these towns. See, the railroad ain't like, oh, the railroad going past, coming through my town. Yeah, it's coming through. It don't matter where it's driving past. It only matter where it stops. You know what I'm saying? And these motherfuckers say where it stopped. Whoever owns it say where it stopped. You know what I'm saying? So if I don't want it to stop here, don't stop here. I want it to stop here. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to stop in Montgomery. I wanted to stop in Selma. Because I own Selma. I own 30 miles, 15 miles this way, 15 miles that way. And then not only that, the government they kept getting more bills and more grants, so that way the government was giving them, fake opportunities to print fake money. The government wasn't giving them money; it was giving them money to create shares, to buy shares, which is basically create fake money. You know what I'm saying? They had to build lodging. See, this is the trick. Now you got a railroad. You have to have roads now to bring the supplies to the railroad. So that's other space. That's more space. That's more road. So now you create roads. So now you own that road. You own 5 miles east and west of that road. So then you have to make lodging for the different people that work for you. Now that's creating a city. You know what I'm saying? You have to make restaurants. And you have to have deposits, which are banks. Depositories where you hold your money. See what I'm saying? And people get off job and they get paid and they put their money in there. This is how you create a city. You know what I'm saying? You take the cattle, you bring the cattle right here next to the railroad, and then you put it on the thing, then you take it over to Chicago, and then they kill it, bring it back east. You know what I'm saying? Or you said this is how they created these towns out of nothing, these places out of nothing, because they made this shit up. with wherever the railroad stopped. So now we got to go to Selma, Alabama in the 1960s and all this trickery shit. Now, you know, most of your parents come from the South. My peoples come from the South. So I asked my aunt, she like 80. I said, well, you know, why would you come up here? You know, tell me about when y'all was growing up. She's like, you know, we lived in a farm. It was a big farm, lots of land. You know, we grew cotton. We had cows. We had chickens. All types. She told me about the time she killed the chicken. So I said, you know, what about the white people? She's like, oh, the white people around. She's like, you know, we used to sell them bootleg liquor. You know what I'm saying? We used to sell them bootleg and shit. But, you know, just to make a little money. But, you know, it was the white people. They didn't own no land. You know what I'm saying? Which was the truth. So, it had me thinking. You know, that's my mother's aunt. So, which is my grandmother's sister. So, you know, it had me thinking, this is her story. This is my mother's side. So, this had me thinking, like my grandmother's side, okay. You know, so what happened to you, you know? She's like, when I turned 16, I ran away. Said I was going to the city, you know, to go to school. Parents gave me money and I left. Now, I know what that meant because, see, in 1933, Franklin Delano Roosevelt gave all the farmers subsidies. He said, you can't grow land no more. You can't use all your land. You got to take some of this money. We're going to give you money not to grow food. So that way, he said, well, now you got to send your kids to school now. In order to get this money, you got to send your kids to school. So people have money now to send their kids to school because he was giving them money. So this is part of the trickery and shit. This is part of the white man, you know, having some shit we want. You know what I'm saying? So she said she ran off with the money, came to Philadelphia, and never went to school. She kept it funky, you know what I'm saying? So my grandfather, my grandmother's husband, right? My mother's father, right? So I asked him, you know what I'm saying? He's Indian. We go to family reunion, they all Indians. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, we never really thought, like, they had pictures of Indians in my grandmother's house. I used to sit and look at these niggas. I would never really connect this shit. My grandpa asked my mother, I said, did he ever put down Indian or anything? She said no. But like I said, like, you go to family reunion, like his sisters and stuff, they all Indians. They don't play that shit. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them, you know, they black people because they don't really understand that it was something not to be. It wasn't a thing to be Indian. It was you know what I'm saying? It was a trick to get off the land. Like, he came to Philadelphia, like my uncle, still in Alabama, he got acres. This nigga got like 50, 60 acres. Because he's the only one that won it. The other side of the family in D.C., Minnesota, Michigan, everywhere. You know what I mean? Nobody want that land. We want to be in the city. We travel, you know what I mean? We are disease and shit. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he ran away at 16 too, joined the army and shit. Said he was 18. Couldn't wait to go die for these crackers. You know what I'm saying? Not to say he died, he came home and he raised his family, but just to say what I'm saying. So that's Selma, Alabama. Now here comes the Ku Klux Klan and shit. I just wanted to take you back to their legacy, to how two people that I know that was affected by a Bentley, that was affected by a Benz, you know what I'm saying, like me, that was affected by the city life and left the farm with no white people around, no white people begging them and Ku Klux Klan killing them. I'm about to get into that because that did happen and shit. But not to say that that's not their experience. Their experience was not that. They only came to the city because the white man sold us some shit. That's it. They was not defeated. These niggas wasn't into that shit. It's a fucking lie.